Shalom, everybody. Shalom. All right, it's good to see everybody here. We're going to go over a case that's going on over on France. You know, in France, the other races, Western nation, there are many. And, you know, nothing is different no matter where we are in the world. So just understand that's how we can identify our people. We can identify them how we're treated everywhere. So, you know, unfortunately, I wish it were different, but just as long as these folks are in power, this is how they're going to keep it. We're going to be down on the bottom, them on the top, and them trying to persecute us over everything. No matter how small and remedial it is, those are the things they're going to do. But, you know, this case is just as laughable as many that we see in the U.S. You know, the cops will do something heinous and the consequences will be very small. You know, no punishment at all. All right, y'all. Well, we're not that far off from the blood moon, and I do have another video that I'm going to put out, and I have some updates that I'm going to tell you before we're even done with this particular live stream. So, all right. All right, everybody. Let me see if I can share my screen. Let's see here. All right. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right. Okay. Now, some of you might have seen this story in the news. It has been circulating worldwide, actually. And I was not too familiar with this man at all. He's a music producer over in France. His name is Michel Zecler. And France, just like any other country, they are struggling with COVID. And they have a mandate for people not wearing a mask. So he was right outside of his studio, but he did not have a mask on. So as soon as he spotted police officers, he went back into the building. Well, they ended up pursuing him and beat him like they caught him committing a murder. I mean, it is just outrageous. And I'm going to show it to you. But it is the same thing that we see over and over again in America. Just understand, these folks can't stay on top unless they go above and beyond to keep us down at the bottom. They can't stay at the top any other way. So their goal is always to keep the dark races on the planet to a low state so that they can continue to prosper on the planet. It is sick. It's sick. And ladies and gentlemen, all of these nations that do this sort of thing, just notice how fast they're declining, not only with coronavirus, but economically. Their economies are suffering. And never forget what happened over in France. They had some pretty big, old historical churches burned. We remember the Cathedral of Notre Dame. You know, they've had some pretty atrocious things happening. They've had terrorist attacks too over in France. So they haven't been skirting by so easily themselves. Just like the U.S., they are struggling. And nobody in these alleged high IQ Western nations can get a grip on COVID. So we know just where your intelligence is exactly where we knew it was all the time. You have none. So the only way in their minds to control Black people is to go savage on us. So one Black man, 4 or 5 white cops. I guess that's what's equivalent to one Black man in their world. But it's a cowardly act, just like the same ones we see here in the United States. Yeah, and I know about, the cops being trained by Israel. You could certainly tell they police the same exact way. The same way. It's like a cookie cutter of each other, the way they police. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play this video. If it's going to be too much for you, please don't watch it.
Racially abusing a Black man in Paris after CCTV footage of the incident was released and caused an outcry. The music producer, who has identified himself as Michel, was beaten at the entrance to his studio. French President Emmanuel Macron was quoted by France's BFM TV as being very shocked by the CCTV and mobile phone images, which were obtained by the Loopsider news outlet and made headline news on French channels. The officers involved were suspended pending investigation at the Interior Minister's request. Michel told reporters he'd been walking in the street without a face mask, against French COVID-19 rules. When he saw a police car, he went into his studio to avoid getting a fine, but the police followed him inside and arrested him violently. The video purports to show them kicking and beating him, and he says they hurled racial abuse at him too. They then leave and throw a tear gas canister into the studio. As anger grew, French soccer stars added to the chorus of condemnation. Kylian Mbappe tweeted that the video was intolerable, and his fellow Les Bleus striker, Antoine Griezmann, wrote, "My France is hurting." The alleged attack on Michel risks inflaming racial tension and fueling criticism of a draft law that would limit journalists' ability to show images of French police officers at work. The Prime Minister's office said on Thursday it would set up an independent commission to propose a new draft of the legislation. Some Black Lives Matter protests broke out in Paris in June, a month after the killing of George Floyd by a white police officer in the United States. The movement resonates in France, in particular in deprived city suburbs, where rights groups say accusations of police brutality, often against people with immigrant backgrounds, remain largely unaddressed. And Paris police were already under fire this week after social media photos and videos showed officers hitting protesters as they cleared out an illegal migrants campsite in a central Paris square.
Now, over in France, they make it so you're not allowed to film the police. And we know why. When they go to, oh, well, you can't film the police. We know they're up to no good. Plain and simple. That's why they don't want to be filmed. We know as soon as we hear that from them, we know they're up to no good. They're doing all kinds of shady things and evil things to people that they don't want captured on film. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this has captured the world. It's been worldwide outrage. The worst thing they have done to these police officers is suspend them. Don't that sound familiar? Oh, over here. Oh, the officer has been put on administrative leave. It's the same BS. It's the same thing. Okay. So look, imagine if one of us went out and beat someone senseless like that and it got caught on tape. They are going to arrest you and put you in jail. But the cops do these things, and he said they were using racial slurs as they were beating on him. And we know cops over here do that. They do that over here. So there is no big distinction in how they police over in France and how they police here. It's exactly the same. When it comes down for them to deal with anyone that don't look like them, they go buck wild. There are no rules that we follow. The rules go out the window. The Constitution goes out the window over here when they're dealing with us. And they want to know why these countries in the Western nations are falling. They are falling. And it just makes me laugh when I hear them say, hey, I can't wait for 2021 to come. 2021 is going to be a hell of a lot worse than 2020. And as you can see, when it comes down to COVID-19, it's more aggressive in cold weather than it is in warm weather, but it's a damn year-round virus. This thing never goes away. And I'm telling you, these vaccines they developed in just a few months is not going to do the trick in eliminating COVID. It's not. It's not. There is no way these folks have developed something like that and it's just a shoo-in. It's going to work. It's not going to work at all. So it's the same evil in policing that you see here. Racism. And when they get a hold of a black man, they want to beat him to a pulp and possibly kill him. That's how they deal with us. That's how they deal with us. But in the same token, these folks believe they deserve to be respected. No, you don't. You don't deserve even a shred of respect. Thank you, Salome Perry. Thank you. No, I'm just tired. Many of us are at the point where we are sick of this whole thing. If this system crashed overnight, they don't realize a lot of people would never, ever in a million years help them get back on their feet. They don't have people like that. Maybe at one point in time they did, not anymore. Yeah, well, you might have them little toe-tapping coons, but they can't do a whole hell of a lot other than stand around and insult Black people. Anything beyond that, they're really useless. They really, truly are. They're completely useless. So those coons, and they'll soon see the coons that they like propping up is of no use at the end of the day. They are of no use at all. But, no matter how much they try to come for us, one thing they can't have is their country back the way it was. And they want that more than anything. And you notice how that's been staying out of their reach for months. They're never going to have it back. It is downhill from here, for real. Rightfully so. If they had it their way, they would go on mistreating you for another 500 years if they could figure out how to do it. But we know it's never going to go that far. What they got in place is not made to last forever. It is a temporary fix. That's it. That's all it is, a temporary fix. And look at how fast and look at how much they have lost from March all the way up until this present day. Look at how much they have lost. This is why they're having meltdowns everywhere and out on the streets about wearing a mask. They know deep down inside, this place is never going to be the way it was once before. And they know it. They are fully aware of it. They may not say it, but they are aware of it. I mean, look, Paula White said, send the angels from Africa. I guess they just never came. I guess them angels from Africa and South America, they're not showing up for you no more, Paula. Oh, boy, this place got hell to pay. So does France. Remember, France is the place that's refusing to give Africa back their art. Always remember that. They have been demanding their art back for years that they have looted out of there. And for years, they have resisted and refused to send that art back because they know as soon as they send that art back, their museum is as good as dead. That is what makes their museum somewhat interesting, is having Black art in it. If you took that out and just left that lame ass French faggoty looking art up in there, okay, it would be boring. It's boring. And no defense, but if you looked at that European art is very homosexual. It is. And y'all know what I'm talking about. All them naked men all close up on each other and nude women on top of each other and all that. That's what their art is. And it gets even worse when it's Roman art. Roman art, shoot, they be kissing each other all in the mouth. I mean, with no clothes on and all that stuff. It's even worse. So nobody is trying to go see that art they got out. The only interesting thing, even here in America, are things of other cultures. But this American art they got, nobody is trying to kill themselves to look at this shit. How many of you are going to kill yourself to go look at a painting of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson? How many people have you heard said they're going to run to the museum so they can look at those pictures of Andrew Jackson and Thomas Jefferson and Lincoln? Who is running to a museum for that? No one. No one is running to no museum for that. And look at their Confederate statues. Some of them are so badly vandalized, it's not even funny. I mean, look, even the general public don't even respect that damn ugly art and statues all over the place. They're heavily vandalized. I've seen some of them when I went into the South, and damn near every monument that I saw had F white supremacy, F these forefathers, F your generals. I mean, all that stuff is written on there. They're so badly vandalized in some places, they don't even bother to wash that mess off of the monuments. They just leave it there now because they had to wash it off so often. So they don't even bother doing nothing with it. I mean, you can look for yourself. You can pull up some of the statues online and see how heavily vandalized they are. People ain't into that. They ain't feeling that mess no more. And the people that are, they're in the minority. They are. That stuff belongs in the cemetery where the dead Confederacy are buried. Some people are like, put it in a museum. I wouldn't even want it in a museum. Put it next to the people it represents. Put them there. Those people are dead. Put it with the dead people. Put it out there in the cemetery. That's where it belongs. Nobody wants to see that mess. So, my heart goes out to Michel, and I hope he recovers. When I saw the aftermath, you saw how all the blood dripping down his face, all dried on his face. and he had his arm in a sling. So I don't know if it's broken or it was badly sprained. I wouldn't doubt if it was broken, you know. And even if a person did not have a mask on, it did not call for that kind of beat down because a person didn't have a mask on. And if that's the case, you need to beat down these men and women that are in the streets talking about their rights and they're not wearing a mask. You need to give them their beat down too. Okay? You need to beat the hell out of them. All right, ladies and gentlemen. First, I want to say thank you for everybody that reached out to me and congratulated me for reaching 80,000 new subscribers, not new subscribers, but subscribers. And so thank you. Several of you have said something and I deeply appreciate that. Thank you. And another thing, a couple of you have sent me money orders. From now on, if you can remember, and I'll try to post something in my community tab, when you send me a money order, please include your email address. That way I can thank you. You know, I know many of you know I am great. I am deeply grateful when you send me money orders, but I want to be able to thank you. So if you can remember, please include your email address, and that way I can give you a proper thank you. Thank you, everybody. All right, so we have the upcoming blood moon. I'm going to be doing a video on the blood moon probably tomorrow. And what I decided to do is, we all like listening to Brother L. So the night of the blood moon, I'm going to do a live stream marathon. A live stream marathon where it's just going to continuously play Brother L's podcast out on Spreaker. So you're more than welcome to come in and out of the live stream. I'm going to try to have it going for a couple of hours, just playing nothing but his podcasts from Spreaker. So look, they're talking about how this particular blood moon, some people call it the beaver moon, some call it the frost moon, but it is going to be a blood moon. Now, on the East Coast, they said we would be able to see the full totality. It's going to go on for 4.5 hours, ladies and gentlemen. So just understand, if you are able to get out and get a glimpse of it. Now, on the East Coast, I think it begins at where we will be able to see it at 2:32 a.m. Eastern time. But they are saying if you go out like around 4:30 in the morning, you will see it in its full totality. So I don't know if any of you are early birds and can make it out there to see it. Don't be in fear of looking at the blood moon. That blood moon is not for us. That blood moon is for the Gentiles. It's just like Egypt. When that blood moon came over Egypt, when they were under judgment, that blood moon wasn't for the Israelites. That blood moon was for the Egyptians. So don't have any fear of seeing that blood moon. And I was reading a couple of articles and they were talking about the energy that is going to come from that blood moon. They said this one is full of energy. So I expect everything to really be chaotic. Not just here, but everywhere. I mean, it's going to be visible damn near everywhere except for Africa. But if you live anywhere else in the world, Australia, you live over in Europe, South America, all over North America, you should be able to see it. Even if you're in Russia, you should be able to see this blood moon. Africa was the only location that, biggest location that won't be able to see it. So this is going to be pretty amazing. So just remember, it's going to be up there for people to see for 4.5 hours. So that's pretty long. I've seen blood moons that were, much shorter. And, time span between it does a full eclipse in full totality, and then it's over. Some of them are pretty quick. This one won't be so quick. And we know what blood moons mean, especially if you know your Bible, then you know what blood moons mean. And it is not a good thing for America, being that it's all over North America. This is not a good thing for America. America's doing so bad right now. It's not even funny. So everybody, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this live stream. Thank you all for coming. I deeply appreciate you spending this time with me. And I will be doing the Bible study at 3:30 today. And today I have 2 different podcasts that we're going to listen to from Brother L. So if you got some time to listen, just come on over. All are welcome. So everybody, please enjoy the rest of your day. Shalom to you, family. Shabbat shalom to you that are observing the Sabbath. And I will see you again at 3:30. Peace, family.